Welcome back to my YouTube channel and to this series on detailing the roof of National Widget. Since most of the roof is now approaching its desired cluttered appearance, there's only a few more details left to add. So in this installment I will get those details built, we'll put everything in place, get it all painted, and we'll be able to see the finished result. So stay tuned, let me get the camera turned around and get to work. One of the other roof details I want to add to the old building is some more of these roof vents. The one I want to match is the capped exhaust stacks. Now I have the remnants of several packs here, but unfortunately there's only 2 of those in each pack, and most of them have already been used. This is the only sprue that has any left. So what I think I'm going to have to do is just install those 2 and then add some different ones in other places. Well, after some deliberation, this is what I've done with the vents. I still like these the best, but I only have 2 of them available, and that's not enough. So I took the tall monitor vent and I added an 1/8 inch block of styrene on top of the spindle to make them a little bit taller. And here's one of the short monitor vents as per the kit, and these I've added some styrene tube to make them about 15 inches taller. Originally I made one a scale 2 feet taller, but I didn't like it. It looked silly, so I cut it down a bit, and I like this a lot better. I'm still not quite sure which ones I'm going to use on the building. I've made more than I need, so I will experiment and see what looks best. I also need a whole load more air ducts for the old building, including this long piece with a jog in it. And the easiest way to do that is to start off with a straight piece, make 2 parallel angled cuts, and then turn around the piece in the middle. And then I will glue that all together, put my seams on. There's going to be 2 short pieces that branch out of the side, and the end's going to curve down. Well, I've joined all the sections together, put my 2 end pieces on. I've added all the seams. This time I only did them top and front. I didn't bother with the bottom or the back because it can't be seen. And next I'm going to work on legs out of this same piece of L section that I made for the other building. Now what I've got here is a stack of styrene scraps, exactly the right height to lift it the same distance as that, so it's now parallel to the ground, and I can just put my angles on till they touch the ground and know that they're in the right length. I've now made these 2 branch sections, which I'm just going to glue on the side. I've marked on the main duct where I put them so that they miss the building structure. You'll notice I had to add a little short piece on the bottom just to make up the right height. And then that air duct now is ready for paint and installation. Now the final piece of apparatus for the roof National Widget is something I started a couple of years ago. I built this up from part of an airfix kit for a British railway wagon. I've got a whole lot of more parts that I can use, some of which I will, some of which I won't. I'm basically just going to make it up as I go along. I'm going to add a platform out here. Of course I'm no longer constrained by the loading gauge, so I can add stuff sticking out the side. I'm going to put some ladders and work platforms and some piping and valves and all sorts of stuff. Well, I've now finished this last piece of apparatus for the old building. The ladder is from Central Valley, the railings are from Tichy. I just built the platform out of styrene sheet and strips of various sizes. I've got a diesel fan here, a Walters roof vent. I had some more little detail parts from the kit. This is the lid from a glue stick, another one of the dialysis pipe ends, some more sprue and brass wire. And then the tank goes in like that. I had to put this little pipe flange on there because I drilled the hole in the wrong place to start with, so I had to slot it out with a needle file, and that just covers the mistake. So that is all now ready to go on the structure, and I think after that I will have enough roof details for National Widget. Well, here are the roof details all ready for painting. Gives a really busy looking roof, which I like. For the water tank on top of the elevator tower, there needs to be some kind of walkway and ladder system to get to it, but that will be attached to the building, not to the tank, and it'll be kind of awkward to get in there and figure out what I need. So unless I decide I need to take the building out to install all the details, that might be just one little bit that never gets done. So let's go away and get everything painted. Well, I have masked off the face of the billboard. That's the only thing that needs masking. I can just take everything out into the garage now and spray it with the light grey primer. So let me do that and I will be right back. Well, now I've sprayed all my components in a primer base. I started off with the light grey primer, but I ran out. I didn't have any left, so I used the light tan in my camouflage paints, which sticks great to plastic and is completely matte, completely flat, giving it a good tooth. And then I realized that a lot of the components were going to end up black or dark grey, and it'd be a lot easier to spray them than to have to stick a brush in between all the steel members. So then I just masked off some of the parts that I knew I needed to stay a light colour, and now it's basically just a case of gradually painting all the individual pieces the colours that I think they should be. That's pretty straightforward really. It's just time consuming, so I'm going to quietly get on with that and I will check in with you again later. Well, over the last few days I've gradually been working on the painting of all these parts. Most of them have all the base colours on and the first remnants of some rust stains. Some of them I'm going to use my weathering powders for. I've just finished attaching the bands to this water tank, and I like it much better than the one with the precast bands. So much neater, because painting these neatly on there is a nightmare, and I don't think I made a very good job of it. I think this looks far preferable, and also I was able to put the bands closer together at the bottom, which I believe is normal practice where the water pressure is greater. So as for these kits, I think in future I will probably just use the steel work and discard the tank sides and make my own. Anyway, I still have a lot of weathering to do on most of the pieces, so I will get back to work and check in with you again later. Well, I've just hit most of the painted metal work with my rusting powders. Give them a somewhat neglected look. I haven't started on the signboard yet, but most of the other pieces are now ready to install on the building. So let me get those out of the way and I will be right back. Now, when it comes to weathering the signboard, I've already decided that I'm going to have a maintenance crew on it because of one of the broken supports down here. But I think what I'm going to do is have most of the frame freshly painted, a nice clean black, and one end of it still old and weathered and rusty. I'm going to put some painters up there, and they've nearly finished giving it a facelift, but they haven't quite finished the job yet, and that will give it a sense of history. Well, I've now heavily weathered the ironwork at one end only of the billboard. You may notice I've done the whole painting and weathering process with the masking still on the face of the board. That's because I don't want to mess it up. I want it to look like it's been recently replaced. As you can see, I did go over where it would have been on the billboard if it hadn't been protected. Before I install it on the layout, I need to assemble a work squad, don't I? So let me dig into my box of painted figures and see what I can find. Well, I've found a few suitable figures. I've got this guy here. I've got these two. They come from the same miniature, but they're in different colour overalls. Won't be so obvious. Got this guy climbing a ladder, and this one climbing the ladder with a bucket of paint. But this guy is a real giant, so I think what I'll do is put him right at the bottom where he's partially hidden behind the parapet wall. Disguise the fact that he scales out at over 7 feet tall. And then this guy I'll probably put further up the ladder. I've got some more of this, these single strands of electrical wire. And I can probably have one, if I can straighten one out enough, I can have the guy at the top lowering a rope down. Well, I had a bit of a setback when I peeled the masking off, because in a few places it's taken the face of the paper off as well, and I'm really disappointed in that. But I think trying to replace it is more likely to completely destroy the structure, because it's too fragile to press hard enough to laminate the new paper on there, so I'm just going to have to live with it. What I should have done is put another blank piece of paper over it before I stuck the masking tape on. And I was so careful not to press it down either. I only pressed it on the very edge. But it is what it is. It's done now. I've got some maintenance workers on the sign, 2 climbing the ladders at the end. This guy's already got his fall protection on, and the other guys are in the process of installing it. So I'm just going to take it over to the layout and set it in place. Well, after I said that I thought I had enough details on the roof of National Widget, I decided to add a water tank to the elevator tower of the new building. This is just a 2-inch PVC pipe connector with a lid of 80 thou styrene. It's going to represent a concrete tank. And I came up with a neat way to get an even overhang all the way around. I started off by cutting it roughly to size, and then what I did, I have attached a strip of 60 thou styrene to the edge of my flat file, just leaving one edge of the file still visible, and put it on a block of wood so it sits flat, and then just keep going round until it doesn't cut anymore. When the file will no longer reach the plastic, I know I have a uniform overhang all the way around. Now, I don't know if I'm the first one to come up with this, but I've certainly never seen it before. I just thought about it this morning. And I thought that might be worth mentioning. And then all I've got to do is just scrape off the burrs with the edge of my knife. And we have a nice neat concrete cap. Well, I've finished cleaning up the edge of the lid. I've added a roof vent and a filler pipe from 16th inch brass rod. Now all I have to do is paint it. When it comes time to paint this concrete tank, I figure the best way of holding it is to stick it on the end of a short piece of the 2-inch pipe that it's designed to connect. It makes the perfect size for a handle. I only shoved it in maybe 1/4 of an inch because I don't want it to get stuck on. And when looking for an appropriate colour, I would like to make my concrete a little bit more yellow, but I have to be fairly close to the building that it's sitting on because I figure it would be built at the same time. Unlike most structures on most model railroads, the roof of this water tank is not the most visible part because it's actually well above eye level. Even for me, and most of my operators are shorter than I am. Well, I finished my second coat on the concrete areas. I painted the vent and the pipe in black and then rusted them out quite heavily. Well, with everything installed on the roof of National Widget, let's take a look at it. Well, that concludes the National Widget Roof Details project. I hope you've enjoyed the series and hope to see you again next week. Thanks for watching and bye for now.